Hi there, my name is Zannah Crowe. I'm an educational horticulturist at Johnson's Gardens in Cedarburg. And we're going to be talking today about houseplants. And there's been a huge resurgence and interest in houseplants in recent years. And it's sort of easy to understand why. We know this just emotionally, like when the filming crew came in today, the first thing they said is, oh, it's so nice to be around all these plants. Plants just make us feel good. In addition to that, it's been shown that they clean the air, they remove carbon dioxide, it's been shown to remove airborne microbes and toxins, and they increase the humidity in our dry winter homes. Also, studies have been done that show that if a worker is given a house plant to tend to in their workspace and share their workspace, their productivity actually increases and their work accuracy increases. And there's a study out of the University of Texas that shows that taking care of houseplants actually makes you a better person, because tending to houseplants makes our interpersonal relationships better because it increases our compassion and our empathy. So those are some of the reasons that we grow houseplants. And so then say, what is a houseplant? What plants can I grow in my home? So if you have a garden plant that you really love and you think, well, why can't I just bring it indoors and enjoy it year round in my home? That will not work, because most plants that live natively in our cold regions are adapted to a dormant period in their life cycle. So they don't want to grow year round in the house. They need that dormant period outside. So the plants that we grow as house plants are plants primarily from the warmer regions of the globe. And most of them are from the understory of the rainforest. So if we think about their native habitat, it helps us to understand how to successfully grow them in our home. So they grow in a warm place. Our home is warm. They grow in a moist place. That's a challenge, and something that we'll talk about as we go on here. And they grow in a place where it's bright, but they're not exposed to full sun. They're in the understory. So they're getting light, but they're getting diffuse or indirect light. So the best placement for most of our houseplants in our home is near a bright window, but not directly in the window. So set back from the window where they're getting bright, diffuse light. You can put them directly probably in a north window, but if you're dealing with a south or a west window, set them back from the window a little bit. Also, plants do require light. So if you want to have a plant in a room that has no natural sunlight, you will need to supplement with full spectrum lighting. And they make these full spectrum lighting now so that you can put them in a regular lamp or light fixture, which is nice. What type of container are you going to put your plants in your home? Well, the most important thing with any container is that it have drainage. And so you want the water to be able to drain through. And because it's draining through, you'll want to have it on a saucer of some sort. This type of pot, a terracotta pot, is permeable to moisture. So this works well outside, but it's not really ideal for putting on your furniture or on your floor because you'll get a watermark. So for in the home, we prefer to use a non-permeable saucer like this. And this has little feet that elevate it up too. So in case any moisture accumulates under there, again, less chance of damaging your flooring or your furniture. Drainage in the bottom of the pot. You can buy a pot that has a saucer attached. Again, there is drainage in the bottom of this pot. Sometimes we carry a lot of real nice decorative pots that you can get to match your home decor. These do not have drainage. So what is the function of these? These we call a catch pot. And in this case, you would purchase your plant in this little non-decorative nursery pot, and then you just slide that inside of the catch pot. And you see in this case, where you're kind of picking up the color of the plant in the container, so you can do that sort of thing as well. There are also specialty pots. For instance, this is what we call an orchid pot. Orchids do not actually grow in soil. they grow in the treetops and their roots are exposed to air. So when we grow orchids in our home, we grow them in a special soil mix that isn't really soil, it's really just chopped bark. And then we grow them in these pots that have air holes. So it's more like growing in the treetops in the tropical rainforest. Now, because of the fact that these plants are obviously native to the outdoors, they really love to go out during the summer months. So if you do have an outdoor space, a patio, a balcony, these plants would love to go outside. However, we have to remember that they don't want that direct sun. So you want them to place them in a shaded area or they will burn. So at the end of the season, when you want to bring your plants in, if you have concerns about bringing in pests or insects with your plants, first thing I do is just simply hose the plant off with a good stream of water. But the next thing, if you want to be on the safe side, is to use something like an insecticidal soap. This is a totally non-toxic product. And you would thoroughly spray this on the top and bottom of the leaves, let it dry before bringing it in. Another option is, and I use this on my houseplants during the winter months, is a systemic insecticide. This is a granule that you would put around the base of the plant. It's actually absorbed by the plant, taken up into the system of the plant, and protects the plant from almost all insects. We use this with caution outdoors because it can affect our pollinators, but inside we don't have that concern. So I use it without any second thoughts in the house. The one insect that systemic insecticide is not effective against is mites. And spider mites are a big problem on our houseplants, primarily because of our dry conditions, and they really like humidity. So this is a product, it's called Mitex. Again, it's a totally natural product. It's just essential oils. And this can be used to get rid of spider mites if you have an issue with spider mites. In terms of fertilizing houseplants, we don't want to fertilize them during the winter months. In the Northern Hemisphere, in our homes, there actually is very little light. It may seem bright to us, but it doesn't seem bright to a plant from the Southern Hemisphere rainforest. So we want to let them kind of rest during the winter months and don't push growth with fertilizer. But particularly if you take them outdoors during the summer months, they will benefit from, say, every 4 to 6 weeks, an application of a soluble fertilizer to keep them healthy. So there's various blends for, this is just a houseplant blend. This one is specifically for African violets. This one is specifically for orchids. And then when we're talking about fertilizing, I want to address watering. More people kill their houseplants from overwatering by far than from underwatering. So if you're going to err on one side or the other, err on the side of underwatering. We want to let the plants go fairly dry between waterings. And the ideal way to water them, and that's why this catch pot is kind of nice, is you take this plant, and I just would put it in a utility sink and spray it and soak it so it's really saturated. Then let it drain, put it back in its catch pot, and there it sits till it's quite dry. Again, we want to give a very thorough, infrequent watering rather than frequent light waterings. And, toxicity. A lot of people have concerns about primarily their animals, their indoor pets, eating their houseplants. And they'll say, why are so many of these plants poison? Well, they're not really, most of them, deadly poison. A lot of them have developed, as a defense mechanism, ways to discourage animals from eating them. And so some of them contain something called calcium oxalate, which are crystals. And if an animal eats that foliage, the crystals irritate the tongue and the mouth, and then they don't tend to eat it again. And some of them contain what are called solanins, and these are toxins that affect the digestive tract. So the animal feels sick, and again, doesn't want to eat that plant again. So there's a natural defense mechanism for the plants. And in most cases, it is not going to be fatal to an animal unless they eat the entire plant, which they're not likely to do because it's unpleasant to eat it. But things to think about, number one, there are non-toxic houseplants. So if that's a real concern, if you have a cat that's bound and determined to eat your plants, then you want to seek out non-toxic houseplants. But many of them, and especially a lot of the more popular ones and the easier ones, do have some level of toxicity. So you want to think about that. Think about placement. Maybe you can place, if you have a dog that's a concern, maybe you can place your plant up high where they can't reach it. I have always thought, why do these people have these animals that are eating all their plants? Now I have a dog that eats absolutely anything. So my plants are now all in one room, and that room has a dog gate up in front of it. So sometimes we just have to figure out how to work with these things. But there are non-toxic plants, so certainly that is an option. And I want to talk about sort of a handful of the very easiest houseplants that if you're just starting out, you want to make sure you have success. These plants you cannot fail with. And the first is this plant. It's called a sansevieria. Nowadays, the common name for it is snake plant. Back in the old days, the politically incorrect name for it was mother-in-law's tongue. So this is the snake plant, very, very tolerant of neglect. This can grow in a dark corner. I mean, it has to have some light, but it can grow far away from your window. If you forget to water it for, let's say, 3 weeks, it will forgive you for that. It has sort of succulent foliage and sort of a covering on the leaf that really helps it to retain moisture. So this is a foolproof plant. It comes in various types. This one's called a starfish sansevieria. It has kind of an interesting form to it. And they will get large. So this is about what a mature sansevieria looks like. It's very vertical. So if you're doing a grouping of houseplants, it's nice sort of for the rear, and then you have a couple of bushier things in front of it. And it increases slowly from the base. It's about the height that you would expect out of that. And another very easy one is this plant. It's called Aglaonema or Chinese evergreen. Comes in a variety of different color forms. This is a form of Aglaonema as well. Tolerant of low light, tolerant of infrequent watering. And this is what a mature one looks like. They don't grow very tall, but they get very wide. Another super easy one. This is called a pothos or devil's ivy. And it is called the devil's ivy because it does contain those calcium oxalates that irritate the mouth. You don't want to eat it. You've probably seen this type of plant. It can be trained and grow in long, sends out long runners, and it can be trained to go over structures. The variegated form does require a little bit more light than the straight green form, but it's very tolerant of neglect. You can train it on a structure like this to grow up. And then this is another form of it that has this kind of lemon lime foliage that I think is especially pretty. A plant that's quite similar in appearance to that pothos is this. This is called the heartleaf philodendron. This particular one that has this stripe of variegation in it is a variety called Brazil. Again, it grows in the same manner in that it's sort of vining. Sometimes you'll see them in restaurants where they have them growing, all the way around the top of the room. Tolerant of low light, very long lived. If you want to keep it bushier, you simply prune back those runners. This plant is called Dracaena. Sometimes people call it a corn plant because it sort of looks like our agricultural corn. Comes in various types of variegation. Grows upright, and here's a larger one. but it can almost become tree-like. This one can get quite tall, 5 or even 6 feet tall. As it grows, the stem gets more woody and it drops the lower leaves. And then the last one, and this one is sort of interesting in that it's newer anyways to the houseplant industry. It came on the scene in 1996. It's called a ZZ plant, and it has this very glossy foliage and increases from the base, similar in many ways to the Sansevieria, in that it is extremely tolerant of neglect. It will grow in very low light and it'll go weeks without watering. As a matter of fact, you're much more likely to kill this plant, again, by overwatering it than by underwatering it. It has swollen organs underneath the soil where it holds water. And so that's a baby one. And then this is sort of what a mature one would look like. See how glossy it is? Very pretty plant. And that's about the mature height, and they increase from the base. They send off little side shoots. So those are like foolproof plants. And if you're just starting out with house plants, you're kind of not going to be able to fail with those. Now, there are a couple plants that are not necessarily super easy, but are super popular right now. And one is the succulents, especially the young people absolutely love the succulents. And the succulents are low maintenance from the standpoint that they don't need a lot of water. However, it's a little bit difficult to meet their light needs in the house because they do need really bright light. And when we're thinking about the succulents and the cacti as well, again, we think about their native habitat. So the cacti growing in the desert, it's very dry, and there'll be long periods where it's very, very dry. And then they'll get a tremendous rainstorm. And then again, long periods where it's very dry. So the ideal way to take care of these succulents and cacti is let them go extremely dry between waterings. And then what I do is I actually submerge them in water and let them bubble till we know that all the air pockets in that soil are now filled with water. And then let them go very dry again, which can be weeks to a month. Another type of plant that's real popular are what are called air plants. These are plants that do not grow in soil. They grow, again, they'll be found in the treetops, primarily in the tropical rainforest. So they do not require any soil. So you can display them on, something like this on your desk at work, or this is a popular way to display them, hang them in a little thing like this. Now, if you're going to hang them, you want to make sure that you're not hanging this directly in a window, because not only that bright light, but it's magnified by the glass. So you want to make sure this is set back and it's getting indirect light. You could also put them on a little decorative saucer with some stones, a little Zen type of thing. But the mistake that most people make with the air plants is they think they don't have to do anything to it. Well, no, in fact, it does require care and it does require water. And a lot of people have like a pretty little decorative sprayer and they'll spray it, and that's nice, but that's not actually enough. So what we recommend with these is that about every 2 weeks or so, that you take a dish of distilled water and you actually submerge the plant in that dish of distilled water. Let it soak for about 15 minutes, shake it off. You especially want to make sure that none of the water is resting in those cavities because that'll rot it. Sometimes I'll turn them kind of upside down to dry, and then put them back in whatever place you're displaying them. This is probably one of the most popular houseplants of the moment. This is called a fiddle leaf fig. And this is being, if you look at photo shoots in interior design magazines, etc., you'll see a lot of these fiddle leaf figs. So people are always in search of the fiddly fig. It is not one of the easiest plants to have success with. It's got that wonderful architectural form, but it's a little bit fussy. It's very sensitive to cold, and it's very sensitive to, it's hard to find just the right balance for water. So while it's a lovely plant and they're fun, one thing you might consider doing is starting with a little baby and growing it up so it's adapted to your conditions rather than starting out with a big mature specimen. We did have a gal come in earlier this week, and she had purchased one sort of like this early in the season, and she had it outdoors on her patio, and it was now this tall, and she wanted to know what to do with it. So we pruned off the bottom leaves and we staked it, and she's gonna, then have the nice tree form that she created on her own. So again, I think that is probably it. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy Bloomin' Holidays.